Hi everyone, Tom here from Mission Motorsports in Irvine, California, and I'm here today to talk to you about the latest thing out of Italy, the Energica Ego, the Italian electric bike that's currently taking the US by storm. Currently, Energica makes 3 models. This is the Ego. This is the one that the new subdivision of MotoGP, Moto E, is based on, this bike right here. What you've got with this bike in terms of performance is you're right there with all leader class bikes. To kind of give you a breakdown of the hardware here, these bikes come from the factory equipped with the best Brembo brake setup that they make. You've got 330 millimeter rotors with quad pistons in the front, all the way to the rear with a 240 millimeter dual piston set up in the rear. For the rear suspension right here, you have Batubo. For the front suspension, you have Marzocchi forks set up. Now they do make an entire Olin suspension package for this bike, which is phenomenal, but so is the factory setup. So if you want that opportunity to upgrade, we can definitely get that for you and have it installed, in addition to Oz race wheels for this particular line. As you look at the bike right here, you've probably already seen that there's some carbon fiber that's very easy to pick up. What you don't know is that all of these panels are carbon fiber. Everything you see here, except for the belly pan, is carbon fiber. This is just clear coated. This is painted and clear coat. In addition, you'll notice that even the fenders, both front and rear, are full carbon fiber. And as we walk around the bike here, even the chain guard, complete carbon fiber. This guy runs a 530 chain, 530. It's kind of a heavier chain than what most people are normal to, but it's to handle the torque that this bike puts out. Now, when we started this video, I talked about it being on par with a leader class bike. That's because this thing puts out 148 pound-foot of torque. There's no high RPM that you have to rev up to achieve that torque. You have it right off the line at the twist of the throttle. These bikes are made and manufactured in Modena, Italy, famously known as the Motor Valley with Ferrari, Lamborghini, all those guys. Energica builds the entire bike. It's not like it's parted out or anything like that. And let me give you a breakdown of the electronics here on the bike. Turn the ignition on, you're going to see the menu system come up. And as the menu system comes up, the bike is now on. You notice you don't hear anything at all, and that's because it's an electric bike. It's all silent. Now, on particular electric bikes, they come with 4 different ride modes, which you can access from the controls on your left hand. As I open up the menu here and use the mode switch to toggle, you can see I have 4 ride modes I can toggle through: Eco, Standard, Wet, and Sport. Now, on the EVA, because they make 3 different models of this bike, they make the Ego, they make the EVA 107, and they also make the EVA SS9. The only difference is on the menu where the Ego gives you a standard option, those bikes will refer to it as Urban, but same ride mode. As you toggle left, you simply highlight the mode you're looking for. Right now I've got it set in Ego. And then if you toggle to the right, you can go through your brake regen modes right here. You can set it to off, low, medium, or high. And to give you an idea of what that is like, if you ride a metric bike and you roll off the throttle, the engine braking that you get would be, by comparison, what low mode would feel like. If you're on a metric bike and you shift down 1 gear, the engine braking setting of medium would be a similar feeling. And if you came to a much quicker stop, maybe you shifted down 2 gears at once, that would be similar to what the high setting would be. So a typical ride for me is I would most likely ride in standard as I commute around the streets with a medium regen. A quick press on the mode button, it takes you to the ABS setting, which is a Bosch ABS system on the bike, and it gives you the option to turn it off. So right now I've got it set to on, and then you're back to the main menu. Another great feature about the menu system of these bikes is they have, in addition to this main screen, You can toggle to a number of different screens. For instance, this one, in addition to giving you miles per hour, will give you foot-pounds, kilowatts, kilowatt-hours per 100 miles, which is a setting you can change. I can toggle it again, and it will actually give you a graph of how your ride has been going, you know, as it breaks it down. So you see the sharp points up and down. It's not that you're necessarily opening it full throttle when you pull out. Those are just stops, you know. And then when you get a nice long stretch, it means when you've had an area of open road where you haven't had to constantly stop. It also has a lap system. So you can record up to 50 laps, and it will remember up to 50 laps. Now, in addition to these screens, it also has a settings menu that you can get into, just to give you an idea of the options you have. So you can cycle through all of them as we go into settings here. LPR mode. This is a limp mode. It's normally set to off. You can get further details on the limp mode in the owner's manual. And you can get digital copies of the owner's manual directly from me, you know, for further details. You can get into your clock. If we look at about, it gives us the motor company firmware version. We can back out of here, go into preferences. It'll let you set up unit measurements either in miles or Fahrenheit for the US, or you can go kilometers and Celsius for Europe. To give you an idea, when I was talking about the different consumption rates you can watch, we have kilowatt hours per 100 miles, but you can cycle that to miles per kilowatt hour, watt hours per mile, or the MPGE, which gives you an equivalent of what people would get miles per gallon on a normal bike. I normally run mine at kilowatt hours per 100 miles. Now we back out of here. You've got two languages, English and Italian. Again, because the bike is manufactured completely in Modena, Italy. On your display setting here, you can control your backlight. So you can turn it down 10% at a time. You know, if it's a little too bright for you, max it back out to 100%. You can jump down to display mode. Right now it says night. Normally we have it set to auto. And I'm going to put it on day just for a quick second, just to back out of the settings menu and show you what day mode looks like compared to when we started. When we first started, it was an all black screen. Now it's all white. So when you're in auto mode, it will switch between that white and black screen depending on what the light is around you. So I'll just simply go back in here, switch it back to auto, that easy, back out of there. Light behavior, you can have the light on in charge, you know. Typically you're charging an electric bike, I'll leave it off. Here's your chronometer, or your chronometer, where you can view your last 50 laps if you like, clear them, what have you. You have an onboard diagnostics here that'll give you a vehicle status on the bike. Now right now it says everything is okay on the bike. If there was an issue anywhere on the bike, you would get a red light indicator next to wherever it felt there was a problem with the bike. To get out of this menu, we just simply do a long press to the left. It'll back us out of diagnostics. And then you also have a connectivity settings. This is a Bluetooth connection because, of course, these guys have an app called My Energica that you can connect remotely to your bike. So you can be sitting at home with your bike, and as long as you're within Bluetooth range of where you have the bike parked at and charging, you can open the app and look at the charge status of the bike. And that's pretty much a rundown on the menu system. Now, some really nice features about this bike. As I sit on the bike in front of you right now, I currently have the kickstand down, and the run switch right here under my right thumb, just like you have a run switch on any motorcycle, is set to the off mode. Now, to put these bikes in forward movement mode, you pull the brake in, you hold what would be considered a starter button in, and you'll see that it gave me a fault message. Let me show it to you again here, saying that the kickstand is down. So it's basically telling me we're not going to allow you to put the bike in movement mode. So I'll flip the kickstand up and we'll try it again. And when I try to put the bike in movement mode, it's telling me that the kill switch is pressed, aka the run switch. So we'll simply turn that to run. I'll pull the brake in. Now you see this little green light right here that says go. Now we're in full movement mode. So depending on what ride mode we're set to ride in, we are ready to go. Again, no noise whatsoever from the bike. And if I were to pull out right now, the initial noise you would hear would just be that 530 chain. And then of course, as I build up speed, you would start to hear a small, kind of high-pitched whine of the electric motor. Almost sounds like a small jet turbine. Now, another great feature about this bike, because I have customers ask me about the weight of the bike constantly, because it is a lithium polymer battery pack in here, and they are heavy batteries. So these guys have taken that into consideration, and they've put a park assistance mode in this bike. Now normally we would hold the brake in and the start button in to put it in go mode. Once you're in go mode, and you have to be in go mode to activate this, you can simply hold the button in and you'll see that an R comes up. And now we're in park assistance mode. By default, it starts out in reverse. What that does is on the throttle, I'm now restricted to a 1.7 mile per hour throttle. But I can give the throttle a little roll and you'll see that the bike starts to come back. I can simply hit the button again, and now you see a F for slow movement. I give the throttle a little twist and we'll start to move forward. So this park assistance mode is phenomenal, especially when you go to bike shows, or you go to crowded areas, or you park your bike somewhere and there's a lot of people that park around you, and it just makes it a difficult situation to try to move your bike by walking it, standing next to it. Well, with these bikes, you simply sit on the bike where you're at your most stable with a leg on each side, put it in walk assist mode, let the electric motor do all the work for you, and simply steer the bike. It's phenomenal. Similar to the walk assist modes that currently exist on Honda's brand new Goldwing that was redesigned for 2018. Now, to get out of this park assist mode, we're simply going to pull the lever in. We'll hold the run button in again, and we go straight back to go mode. Now, a word of caution here for those of you that actually come in and purchase these bikes, and of course we all like to show them to all our friends and family and things like that. When you're sitting on this bike and this go is lit up, that means if you have a friend walk up and twist that throttle, this bike will launch, and you'll most likely end up dumping it. So, word of advice, you can go through the entire menu system that I've showed you just now, showing your friends, family, what have you, all the cool features of the bike. But before you do that, of course, other than the park assist mode, you have to be in go for that. But before you do that, you can either have the kickstand down, which will disable the throttle, or you can simply have the run switch off, and you'll see go disappear, and now we have no throttle whatsoever. So you don't have to worry about one of your friends as you're sitting on the bike telling them about it, grabbing the throttle and twisting it and accidentally launching the bike. Other than that, most of the controls on here are all basic controls. Turn signals, just like any other motorcycle, left, right, you'll push in to cancel. Horn in a typical spot. Headlights are in dim, push forward to set to bright. The difference is the headlight switch itself is also the trigger to pass switch. The braking system, just like any other bike, you'll have front brake on the right, your foot brake on the right in the standard position. What's different is you see absolutely no clutch here, and you'll see no shifter down here next to my rear peg, because we're not changing gears at all. This is just linear acceleration on these bikes. Italian motorcycle, motorbike, built and made in Modena, Italy. Right now, with all the electric bikes that's out there, my personal opinion is nothing competes with this. Range-wise, big question. You guys are gonna, of course, be wondering about battery life, range, things like that. It's an 11.7 kilowatt hour battery pack in here. And out of the 4 ride modes I showed you, Eco mode will get you up to 125 miles. So if you want to use this bike, say for commuting to and from work or what have you, then you can get 125 miles one way in Eco mode. Now, if you put it in standard, aka urban mode, or you put it in its most powerful mode, sport mode, of course that mileage decreases depending on how you're riding the bike, but the opportunity is there to get up to 125 miles. Another important feature about Eco mode, however, is like most modern day electric vehicles in Eco mode, it will restrict your top speed. So on these guys, it restricts your top speed to 55.9 miles per hour. But if you're commuting on streets similar to these right here, where the max speed limit is 50 miles an hour, then it's not really an issue. And you can maximize your mileage and your battery life that way. Now, as far as charging the battery packs on these guys, just like you have, most bikes have like a storage compartment under the seat and you have a key that you unlock it. Same thing with the Ego here. Instead of a storage compartment, what we have here when we open up the seat is the charging port. So the charging port is a J1772 CCS compatible port. What that will allow you to do, and you have a fan right here because this guy also does rapid charge. So the fan that's behind this grill is to keep it cool as you're charging. What this will allow you to do is, here in the US, any charging station, whether it be a charging station at, let's say, Costco, Walgreens, your local mall, your local corporate parking garage, you can plug this bike in. It's the same plug that's used at all those charging locations. So you can plug this guy in, and most of these chargers are going to be level 2 chargers. If you run the battery down to less than 10%, then you're probably looking at about 2.5 to 3 hours to get you back up to full charge. However, since the bike does do a DC fast charge, if you find a location like your local mall or corporate park that has a DC fast charger, you can top this bike off battery pack wise to roughly 95% in 15 to 20 minutes. So that makes it really easy. Now, to shut the seat on this particular model, we have a little release tab here. So we just press that, we'll let the seat sit down, lock back into place, remove the key, and there you have it. I mean, you have the Italian design with this bike, which is just, you can't argue with Italian design on these bikes. It's just a truly phenomenal looking motorbike. I absolutely love how this bike looks. I love the color scheme of this bike. It's just a beautiful bike. In addition to being able to charge this at business parks, corporate parks, malls, what have you, these bikes come with a charger when you purchase one. For the US, it fits a 110 outlet, which is 120 volts here in the US. So what that'll get you charge rate wise is roughly between 7 to 9 hours. And the reason it takes 7 to 9 hours is right between the 7 to 8 hour mark, you will hit 95% on these guys. But at that point, the battery management unit on these bikes kicks in and it starts doing what we call a cell balancing algorithm to prolong the life of the battery. And so that last little bit of charge takes a little bit of extra time, which can run you up to 9 hours to hit that 100% mark if you've drained the battery down to less than 10%. Of course, if you commute to and from work and in a day's commute you only take it down to 85%, which is typical for me, then I can commute on average about 4 days, every 4th, 5th day, depending on how hard I ride the motorbike, because I don't own this particular Ego bike. I own the EVA 107. I've owned mine probably for about a little over 3 months now. I've got roughly 1,000 miles on it. Every time I saddle up on the bike, I'm smiling from ear to ear. These are just phenomenal motorbikes to ride. A lot of people ask me, hey Tom, do you miss the sound? Do you miss the clutch? Do you miss shifting? You don't miss any of it. The adrenaline rush from the torque and the power you get on these electric bikes It's just so phenomenal. It overrides all those feelings that you might have. Now, of course, that might not be the case for everybody, but it was definitely the case for me. And for the number of these bikes I've sold up to now, it's been the case for all those customers as well. It's just a phenomenal piece of machinery. Now, in addition to the 110 charger, you can also buy a 240 volt charger. If you have a 220 outlet in your house here in the US, that 7 to 9 hour window, it'll cut it almost in half. Not exactly in half, but almost in half. So that's an option as well. And then there's also aftermarket upgrades for these guys. Energica makes a custom tank bag for this guy that you can purchase through the dealership here. We can order that for you. They also make a custom saddlebag option for him as well. And all these options you can find and view on Energica's website in what they call their online configurator. Okay, one other option I want to talk to you about is the maintenance on these bikes. Compared to a standard petrol bike, far less maintenance on these guys. Now, as you can see right here, right off the controls, like most super sport style bikes, you have a brake fluid reservoir there. And then when we come to the rear of the bike, you have another one right here for the rear brakes. So you do have brake fluid that has to get changed on the bike. In the electric motor right here, you'll actually see a small sight glass. And that's the pink fluid you see there is transmission fluid that's inside the electric motor here. So when we talk about these bikes in terms of ownership maintenance, at 600 miles, you'll bring the bike into the dealership here and we'll do the initial, what we call the break-in service, just like most other bikes. And they'll drain the fluid out of the motor here. It's actually drained through a micro mesh filter. They check it for particulates, you know, to make sure there's no failure points. And we've had 0 up to this point in time with the history of this company. They'll refill that for you. They'll check all the major torques on the bike in addition to the chain tension, and that's pretty much it. Under the tank area here, since this is not a fuel tank, I also have a lot of people ask, what's there? Well, what you see right here on the side of the bike is the battery pack behind here, and you can see it from the front right here as well. So if you come around here to the front of the bike, you'll see the battery pack, and you'll actually see an aluminum heat sink right through the center that's hollow. You can see as I, press my finger here. That helps cool the battery. Now, this small radiator, just right here, all right, that small radiator is, as we come up here to the tank area, we have an inverter under here. It's a CNC machined aluminum inverter, which converts the DC battery power to this AC motor. And it's an AC motor because it's more efficient in terms of, mileage, for instance, getting the most miles out of the bike. So for all you tool guys out there that are thinking about your DC brushless motors, doesn't quite work the same here. But the inverter that's in here, there's a small bottle that's a 50% glycol, 50% water mixture. It gets pumped through the small radiator you've seen to help keep the inverter cool. So fluid-wise for this bike, again, at 600 miles, they'll drain the fluid out of here, replace it. They'll check the fluid level of your coolant. They'll check your brake fluid, front and rear. And that's it. That's the initial maintenance on the bike. They'll send you on your way, and then every 6,000 miles, that's when you bring it back in to have this fluid changed. Once every 6,000 miles. Now, of course, if you wear your tires out before 6,000 miles, or if you manage to wear your Brembo brake pads out before 6,000 miles, of course you're going to need to bring them in for just routine wear maintenance like that. But as far as the battery and the maintenance goes for the bike itself, 600 mile initial, every 6,000 miles after that. Warranty wise on the bike, comes with a 2-year warranty from the manufacturer. The battery comes with a 3-year warranty. And they list the battery as being good for up to 1,200 cycles. And just to give you a little breakdown on that, 1,200 cycles. Most people who ride these bikes, myself included, because I do ride one daily, you won't end up doing a full 100% cycle charge per day. But let's just say you did. If you take a 1200 cycle battery and you take 1 year of 365 days and you divide that, then you're looking at, for 1200 cycles, you're looking at a 3.24 year battery life for this guy. Now, if you're the more typical person, and maybe you do, I say a more typical person just based on my own ride experience, and you do 100% charge cycle maybe once every other day, or let's just say once every other day for this analogy, well, you've doubled the life of that battery. Now you've gone from 3.24 years to 6.48, basically 6.5 years. So the next big question is, Tom, what's it going to cost me to replace that battery pack? Well, that's a tricky question, because whatever it costs today, 3 years from now, which is what this battery pack is warranted to last you, battery technology is going to be further along, it's going to be cheaper, you're going to get more range. The bike was designed to have new battery packs retrofitted to it. That's one of the big points. And that's it for the Energica Eco here at Mission Motorsports. Again, my name's Tom. Make sure you click that like and subscribe so you can get notifications for all the videos we put out. We're right here in Irvine, California, right off the corner of Bake and Irvine Center Drive. If you're coming south on the 5, exit Bake. If you're headed north on the 5, exit Bake. You know, you just can't miss us. You can reach me at 949-582-0351. I'll be more than glad to answer any questions you may have about these guys. Thank you for watching.